Welcome to Anti-Fiction. This is a weekly nonfiction podcast where each week I, Christian Yates, pick a theme, and then I invite two guest hosts to come and talk about stories related to that theme. My guest hosts this week are series regular Kylee, Pauley.
Hi.
And 1990s horror film star Jeff Purvis.
Greetings and salutations.
So, listeners, I know that I like to use goofy epithets for some of the guest hosts, but that is actually a real thing. Jeff was actually in a horror film in the 1990s.
What was it about?
It's called, what, Mutilation Man, right?
Mutilation Man.
Right.
It was an Andy Kopp film, which a lot of folks from the Dayton area will know that name.
Mm-hmm.
You can still find copies of it on DVD and VHS available through Amazon, or the entire movie is available on YouTube.
So listeners, go check that out and you know, leave a rating on Amazon for the film and just really help Jeff out. He makes no money off of it.
Jump him to stardom, honestly.
Help a brother out on this one. Come on.
This was, what, 20 years ago this movie came out.
Oh my gosh.
24, actually.
Right. So our theme for this week is urban legends. So we've all brought an urban legend, or you brought a couple of urban legends, you said, Jeff?
A couple of them.
Okay.
Oh, a couple?
Because they're both kind of short. So.
Mine was a little short, too. But, you know, I'm kind of hoping that we make enough jokes that it'll fill in my story.
Yeah, because we're so funny. We can't help
Well,
it.
yeah, I mean, you know, pretty funny. I think maybe at least three people think we're funny.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
And it's the three of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll get started. So I picked the urban legend of the Hook Man. Yes. So I mean, it's one of the most popular like urban legends. It's been done to death, but I fucking love the Hook Man. I think it's the most ridiculous fucking story. So I immediately when I wrote down on my ideas board for urban legends, I was like, I'm gonna do the fucking Hook Man. But I did try to look into to try and find out where it started. So I did some research. So except for my first sentence that I wrote down, the exact origins of the Hook Man legend are not known. Though according to historian Jan Harold Brunvand, which is probably not how you pronounce that, the story started circulating in the 1950s, and the first known publication of the story occurred on November 8th, 1960, in a Dear Abby letter. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Dear Abby, the
definitely.
newspaper thing.
I'm actually old enough to remember.
Hey,
Dear
well, there you
Were
go.
you Dear Abby, Jeff?
Jeff is
and
Abby.
yet something new that you now know about me.
Before he was a horror film actor.
I had to make my money somehow. It was that or male prostitution, and so
right, and there wasn't a market for it, so
no, not so much.
Knew it.
So the story as it appeared in Dear Abby reads like this: Dear Abby, if you are interested in teenagers, you will print this story. That's an interesting way to start it. If you're into teenagers, I don't know whether it's true or not. But it doesn't matter because it served its purpose for me. A fellow and his date pulled into their favorite lover's lane to listen to the radio and do a little necking. The music was interrupted by an announcer who said there was an escaped convict in the area who had served time for rape and robbery. He was described as having a hook instead of a right hand, and the couple became frightened and drove away. When the boy took his girl home, he went around to open the car door for her. Then he saw a hook on the door handle. I will never park to make out as long as I live. I hope this does the same for other kids.
I love that it ends like that.
I know. Yes.
I will never make out with someone in a parking lot
Right,
again.
I will do it in the comfort of my own home as God intended.
I love Jesus.
But that's kind of the idea of the story. It is meant to instill fear in horny teenagers. That's the whole purpose.
Most urban legends are.
What? Yeah, that's true. Most of the time, it's like like folklore, like fairy tales. It's like and that's how the turtle got its shell, or whatever.
Right.
That's kind of the idea. Is it's like, here were these horny teenagers gonna go fuck in their car, and then the hook man got them, or whatever. Mm-hmm. So in other versions of the story, though, which I prefer these other versions, they're better. They're just better.
Oh, I can't wait for this.
In other versions of the story, the car breaks down, prompting the boy to go for help. And then the girl hears the radio announcement, followed by banging on the roof, and she exits the car to see the hook man banging the boy's head on the roof.
This is my favorite part of this, and this goes into like horror movies and things like that. It's one of those we smile and nod and accept. Mm-hmm. But you look at it and how often do you sit around in the house by yourself, scared to death? You hear a loud noise and go, well, fuck, I need to check that out right now.
Right.
Why? Just, no, sorry, little Billy's gone. Get in the damn driver's seat and go.
Well, curiosity, I guess. Human beings are like cats, and curiosity kills cats. And curiosity kills the girl who goes to look for her date. Another variation sees the boy returning with help for the car. So he's gone off to get help, and he comes back, and he finds his date butchered with a hook embedded in her body.
Goals.
In those versions, though, that's not like cautionary tale. That's not like, don't fuck in your car in the woods.
That's just
like, don't ever stop. Never. If your car breaks down, just
You're
that's
dead.
it. You're dead.
You're
That's
dead.
the end of your life. Don't let your car break down ever. Keep
love
up your
that.
maintenance on your car. Maybe that's the lesson in that variation.
The lessons in those variations is a subtle advertisement for AAA.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Get your damn oil changed.
Or the hook man will get
Get
you.
you.
So the most likely origin of the hook man story probably lies in distorted retellings of actual Lover's Lane murders, such as the Texarkana Moonlight Murders of 1946, which is, I'm not going to get into that too much because it's a fucking long and crazy story. And I also am going to do that story for our serial killers episode. So I'm going to save
Spoilers.
that. Spoilers. Spoilers for like 8 weeks from now.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna. It's crazy, but basically, like, as it turns out, lovers' lanes are like a really popular place to kill people.
Yeah. Zodiac did it.
Yeah, Zodiac. There was the Texarkana Moonlight Murders I mentioned. In 1963, Dr. Gilbert Bogle and Margaret Chandler were killed in Sydney, Australia at a lover's lane. And then, so several of Zodiac's victims in San Francisco. Son of Sam in New York City killed a lot of his victims or attacked a lot of his victims in lovers' lanes. And in 95 in Georgia, there was a killer named Andy Cook who had killed his victims at a lover's lane also. So it turns out that, like, if just don't go to lovers' lanes.
Yeah.
That's, I think, the moral of the story. Just, if you're going to park, don't go to a lover's lane.
Listen,
park
kid.
on a very busy street.
Yeah.
And just be exhibitionist about
Listen,
it.
kids, PSA, if you're going to have sex in a populated area.
in a public, crowded place.
Yeah.
So that
The
way
mall,
you don't get
a perfect
murdered.
way.
Yes. The mall, public courtyard,
Right.
like, just anyway. I was going to say a school, but like now that
Nope.
thought entered my head, I was like, maybe
might-
not.
That's happened at my school before. Like, in the hallways.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, no.
It's so bad.
Yeah, it's I never to me.
Never to
but
you.
like,
But I heard
but I heard
and
stories.
You've
I heard
heard-
stories
you've heard
along
whispers
the
in the
lines of
wind.
your topic.
Nobody wanted to, park in the hallways because they were always afraid the hook man was going to get them. But like, only with me. No problem with anybody else. But anyway, so the moral of the hook man has been interpreted in many ways. Most of the time, it's that moral compass thing. But I did read one interpretation that the hook was actually a phallic symbol. And like a symbol of the hook man's own impotence, right? So he can't get it on at a lover's lane. So he takes his hook and penetrates people in a different way.
You have no idea the visions I have in my head at this point in time.
I was like,
I'm just imagining a man running around flogging people to death with a giant dildo or
with a
something
crooked
like that.
penis.
Yeah, it's
Incidentally,
Orange.
another movie I was in when I was in...
But mostly, the hook man represents a moral guardian trying to keep teenagers from fucking in their cars
and getting pregnant
by killing them.
Right.
That's one way to do it.
But like my problem with that
you gotta give him props, honestly.
Right,
He
my
had a
problem
message,
with that
he stuck with it.
is that what the moral of that story is that premarital sex is not as bad or is worse than murder. That's the problem. That's the moral of the story. It's like kill whoever is doing things that we don't agree with. That Hookman is a hero to the parents of these children.
That's like a mob mentality.
Like Hookman might have killed my son, but at least he wasn't fucking in his car at Lover's Lane.
Right. We have that to hold on to.
Yeah.
That sounds like a new Deadpool PSA right there. Well, at least little Johnny's not fucking right now.
Right.
So.
At least I know he's not knocking girls up on Lover's Lane because Hookman spared him from that. Thank you, Hookman, wherever you are.
The national
Taking
hero.
one for the
And
team.
like he's like walking down a dark country highway, and then like hitchhiking, and the Sad Man theme from The Incredible Hulk is playing, and that's.
Do you think he has a cape?
I imagine a trench coat that like blows in the wind.
That
so
looks
maybe
like a cape?
It looks like a cape. Yeah.
So a little more Punisher-esque.
A little more Punisher-esque.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, like I said, Hookman it's one of the most popular urban legends like ever, and it has been depicted over and over and over in pop culture, and a lot of your modern slasher flicks, probably Mutilation Man included, owe a lot. They owe a lot to the Hookman legend.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
So it's more like your Friday the 13th, Halloween, those kind of movies. I Know What You Did Last Summer.
But Friday the 13th actually has its basis in Park Lane, Ohio.
Right, that is true.
It's, I think, a variation because it's also based on an urban legend from up around there, but probably a local variation, if you will, on the Hookman thing. But yeah, the Friday the 13th franchise is like the very first one that jumps out. Because who's the only person that ever survived those films?
I'll be honest with you, I didn't watch many of them.
I've seen every one. I'm a sad man. It was always the person who didn't have sex. And
the virgin!
The virgin.
The stone cold sober virgin.
Right. And I mean, that's like the thing about Cabin in the Woods, for example. Like they play on that trope a lot. Spoilers for Cabin in the Woods, by the way, but you've had 6 years to see it. So in Cabin in the Woods, you haven't? I'm going to spoil it for you real quick. So they play on all of the tropes in horror films, and the idea is that it's a ritualistic sacrifice while these kids are being attacked in the woods, and it's designed in order to kill them in a specific order, with the virgin being the last one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the whole, like, on every list you see, like, what to do if you're in a horror movie, it's always like, 1, don't have sex, like, ever.
Right.
Like, it's just...
Don't
have fun.
Don't have fun. Don't go to the beach or the woods. Stay in your house and lock the doors. And if you hear a noise, don't go investigate.
Don't answer your phone.
Don't go to the basement. Just don't. Yeah.
Pretty much.
Don't do anything. Sit there and do nothing.
Just be.
Do not let the plot advance.
I'd love to see like a comedy film where it was like a horror movie like around this guy, but he's just like avoiding every situation.
He's like, I'm a nope out of here. Nope, thank you. See you guys later. Fuck this shit. I'm out.
Man, he's so good.
But yeah, so it's all over the place, the Hookman legend. So I mean, in your slasher flicks like that, there's Supernatural episode about it. I think in the first season there's the Hookman episode.
Yeah.
But it's all over the place, and we don't know for sure. I mean, it's very possible that an escaped convict, I guess, could have. Not maybe exactly how that story from the Dear Abby letter played out, but I mean, I think that probably the most likely scenario is that people were being killed at Lover's Lane, and maybe parents and authorities wanted to scare people away from parking there because you were more likely to get murdered.
But what sells the hook aspect of it? Like, imagine if you
well, it's a phallic symbol symbolizing the Hookman's impotence.
A limp phallic symbol, yes.
Well, yes, because he's impotent.
But how does that scare you? I'm sorry, you can't get it, up there, Rob. But I'm gonna.
Well, listen, the Hookman had to have some kind of weapon to kill these kids with.
So his penis.
And it couldn't be his penis because then he wouldn't be a hero. He'd be fucking the kids, which is what they don't want.
Right.
So they had to think of something what's like a penis but not, and they were like, I don't know, a hook, and it just stuck.
That's fucking brilliant.
Yes. Great job, Greg. Yes, a hook. You're promoted. But that's my story. That's the Hookman. It's not a terribly long one, but like I say, I mean, it's fucking everywhere. Everybody's heard of the Hookman already, I'm sure. So you can dig into it more. There was a movie in '99 called Lover's Lane that had like a Lover's Lane like Hookman killer thing in it. All kinds of shit out there. So you can read more about it. But anyway, that's my story.
Cool.
So
you're sticking to it.
And I'm sticking to it. Jeff, would you like to read your stories?
Oh, over to me. Well, in honor of the urban legends, I decided to go a little bit more local. So for those listening who are not from the Dayton area.
Oh, right. Yeah. Hey, shout out to our listeners in Germany. What's up? What's up, Germany listeners?
None of this will make sense. There's a couple in there's one particular to the Dayton area that I remember hearing a lot about growing up. And I guess it's finally kind of run its course. I'm a little surprised that it's still not as popular as it once was. And that is what I heard of as Witch's Tower.
Okay. Yeah, I've been, actually. I pissed on it once.
You pissed on the Witch's Tower?
No, I'm sorry. This is being recorded and broadcast to the internet. I never pissed on Witch's Tower.
I never pissed on a monument that is in Dayton, Ohio.
Yes.
Never.
I've never even been anywhere in Dayton, ever.
What's Dayton?
That's here, man. I mean, nowhere.
Nowhere.
No, it's a silly place.
Fictitious place.
It's actually, through the years, it's been known by a few things. Lookout Tower, Frankenstein's Castle or Tower was another name it used or went by. Witch's Tower, Haunted Tower. More accurately, it would be either Patterson Tower or Hills and Dales Tower. It's located in Hills and Dales Park, and it actually sits up on a hill. And to see it going past, it seems completely like out of nowhere and arbitrary. It is a Gothic-style tower with, a parapet and everything up top. It just kind of pops up out of nowhere. So, of course, the stories and all are going to start flying about, oh my God, why is that there?
Right.
Where did this come from? What sort of
Dayton Stonehenge.
evil things? So through the years, I found a couple of things. Like I had always heard it was frequented by Satanists and that sacrifices had been done there because it's a solid tower, but at the top there's a hole that had basically been where the roof of it had kind of collapsed.
The sacrifice pit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You got to have somewhere to throw the scraps.
Absolutely.
But, it's, like I said, it's been theorized, it was, built for that, or it was from before the Civil War era, and nobody knows where it came from. And
Okay.
It just popped out of the ground.
it just, nobody in town knows where this is from. And
It's actually a horn of a giant underground rhinoceros.
exactly.
Yes. Wait, what?
Who knows?
So a couple of the ones I found are like, says one story has the tower was built during the Civil War. That a woman climbed to the top and plunged to her death after hearing the news of her husband's death during that war.
Well, as you do. Yeah.
The most popular story, at least for this person, like I said, I've heard a lot of others about it, is during a thunderstorm, there was a group of teenagers seeking shelter from that storm, so they climbed. It had an entrance. It used to be open to the public. They all went in there, and of course, what do you do when you're in the middle of a thunderstorm and trying to get out of the storm? You go to the top of a tower.
Naturally.
So you're no longer covered. And they were all struck by lightning, and they were all killed.
Nice.
Right. That's what I would do, though, in a weather emergency like that. You want to get to the highest place you can.
Exactly.
Die.
And I'm pretty sure one of them, even had like
Lightning
a metal
only
rod,
hits the ground.
to make sure.
Yeah. Held his keys
Hey,
up
we're
or
over
something.
here.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on your perspective, the origins are not quite as sexy, let's say, as what the stories have come to be over time. In reality, it was a tower that was built. The funny part about it is, like I said, you'll hear stories of, oh, that was built before, the Civil War. That was built before the city of Dayton even existed. It was built in the fucking 1950s. It's not even that goddamn old. Your parents or maybe your grandparents, if they are from the area, will remember when the damn thing was built.
That's so good.
And it was built for very innocuous reasons. It was built so that in that area, because that's the Oakwood area, so that's where, money still exists and all in that area. Mm-hmm. And it was built, from what I've found, for kind of douchebaggy reasons. It basically gave rich people something to climb up on top of and look out upon the land. And,
my kingdom.
Oh, so
pretty much.
Feel like
it was a boner lifter.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It's a giant phallic symbol.
It's a giant hook.
Yeah.
It's a giant
It
hook.
is a hook.
Think of Witch's Tower like a hook, and then it just everything makes sense. Old rich white men would climb to the top of it and then just whack off of it. Like
Right.
Exactly.
And then
I
Christian
have
did
money.
not piss on it.
and I didn't piss on it.
And of course, since this is, a podcast, I brought visual aids.
Oh, naturally. Hey, well, listeners, you can see in this picture here.
So for those, and again, those of you listening, piss off. You don't get to enjoy.
Google's a thing, Jeff.
It is, or so they tell me.
Yeah, no, that is definitely a penis.
It is a giant penis.
That's the most phallic building
This
I've
is
ever
the
seen.
one I wish that could be seen, because it shows the tower after it was originally built in the 1950s.
Oh, it's got a little roof, like a little tent.
It
It has a tip.
It's
It's just the tip.
It's just the tip.
apparently it was circumcised at some point, because the tip is gone.
Yeah.
But it used to be open to the public. You could go up inside it and everything. I've actually been to the top of the tower because it was bricked off at one point.
Right.
Any industrious teenager is not going to let a simple brick and mortar stop them.
Right.
So
You just
the
parkour
door
your
had
way
been
up there.
the door had basically been broken down. Now, even when I was in high school and much smaller than I am now, that was a narrow-ass stairway. I had to take it sideways, and I don't know how any human being ever actually used it on a regular basis.
Well, if you're rich, you just levitate to the top.
You have people, go to the top,
ride your
put you in a
jet.
basket,
Yes.
and then pull you on up.
Yeah.
It is kind of cool. Like I said, I've gone to the top of it before. You really can see like all of Dayton and everything. Its original purpose is, kind of neat and everything, but over time, because it fell out of fashion or whatever, like I said, our grandparents kind of forgot about it. The void had to be filled with something.
Right.
And nobody seemed to know, what was that built for? Oh, hell, I don't know. So people start making up stories about it and everything else.
Right.
Now, in the tower's defense, one person has actually been known to die there. And it was in the, I'm wanting to say in the 60s. 1967. this is probably where the origin of the group of kids getting struck by lightning came from.
Okay.
Because it's May 17th, 1967. A young lady by the name of Peggy Harmison and her boyfriend sought shelter in the tower from rain. Lightning struck the tower, and it does have like metal bars on the windows and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
But lightning struck the tower, knocked the boyfriend out, and actually killed her.
Damn.
Now, of course, the very studious,
Right?
the very studious person, who put all this stuff available online for us was also nice enough to say exactly where the poor young girl's gravestone is at. If
you'd like to, go,
pay your respects,
right? See if it's haunted or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you've got that available.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
But that's the only one. But like I said, it was when I was a kid. It was a very popular one, and I think for a lot of the same reasons. So like you were saying, the hook is a morality play. Mm-hmm. This one kind of was more of a, oh God, just shut up and leave me alone. Maybe from a parent to his kid at some point. Well, Daddy, what is that? Oh, well, that's, the witch's tower.
It's haunted. Don't play on it.
Pretty much. Yeah. I think that's what it boiled down to. They've had so many problems with it over the years, though, with people trying to get to the top of it and everything. The last time I went past it, which was many years ago, they actually welded a giant, steel, 3-inch thick steel door over the entrance now.
Oh my God.
So there, hey, but any strapping young rock climber could get up there if they really wanted to, Ezio their way up to the top.
Ezio.
It's an Assassin's Creed joke, was what that was. Our listeners will get it. Don't worry about it.
Okay, cool.
At least 7 people out there will understand that joke.
Somewhere there is a geek sitting in a dark closet shoveling Cheetos into his mouth right now going,
he's like, that's a funny joke!
Well, we just lost all our gamer listeners.
I didn't say I wasn't that particular geek. But the difference is I'm currently doing this, so I'm not sitting in said dark closet.
Yeah, there you go.
I may have given away my plans for the rest of the evening, but it is kind of cool. It's located in Hills and Dales Park.
Right.
It's actually only a few hundred yards from the actual Patterson Memorial. I went out there a few times in my days of misspent youth. I may have been under the influence on a couple of those occasions, and
once or 8 times.
Couple of incidences like that. But it's kind of a cool place to see, and it's just one of those I figured give a little bit of a local, twist to. There's actually stuff like that in the Dayton area. It's kind of neat to go to local local areas and find out what their local legends are and things like that.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to try to find stuff about Yellow Springs. Lord knows there's got to be a treasure trove of that.
Right.
The other one that I'll just read through real quick is The Legend of Helltown.
Okay.
My house.
Yes, or if you're at the street I grew up on. It's one of the... I had actually heard of it in passing at one point in time. I think I found it first time in one of those Haunted Ohio books or something like that, and I went searching for it.
I used to read the shit out of those when I was a kid.
Oh, I read every damn one of them. I'm pretty sure that the librarian labeled me as a future serial killer when I was 10.
Wouldn't be surprised, honestly.
Just walking out with, they flag those. Those certain books from the library. I'm pretty sure you wind up in a national database. So, on this one, of all the urban legends in Ohio, tales of Helltown seem to be the most prevalent. Perhaps due to the actual facts that lay at the root of this story. Area known as Helltown was actually once called Boston Mills. It was a little town in what is now Cuyahoga Valley National Park. State of Ohio, or actually the U.S. government, not the state of Ohio, decided, hey, we want to build a park. Hey, there's a town here. Fuck them.
Right.
Okay.
As you do.
Yep. Well, yeah.
As the U.S. government has a tendency to do at times.
Well, I mean, when you are the government, you do what you want. When the president does it, it's not illegal.
Right.
It's a Richard Nixon quote.
Wow. See, now you just blew my
You
mind
lost
right
us.
there. Needless to say, residents were not happy with the situation, but there's this neat little thing called eminent domain in the United States. But they were given no choice in the matter. Now, they were at least kind of nice about it, as, say, your family decided, well, screw this, we're going ahead and we're just going to leave town. As soon as the house was even remotely vacated, the U.S. government came in, boarded it up, said, okay, we own this one now.
Right. We just left for milk.
And it just went to the store. Eventually, the residents said, you know what, screw this. And we just went on, and they went on ahead and vacated the town. The U.S. government went forward with creating the park, but they didn't do anything with the town.
Oh.
They didn't tear the buildings down.
Right.
Nothing. The buildings are still there. In various states of decay. Some of them, look like somebody just left them. Like, people left some of their crap there and everything else. I've seen some of the pictures.
I want to go inside one now.
Now,
See
at
what
one
kind of
point in
shit they
time,
got.
some of them, where the name Helltown started coming into play is,
Right.
again, you take those very innocuous beginnings and then they get that little special twist to them. At one point in time, whatever fire department would be up there, started using some of the abandoned buildings as, like, basically practice homes. So some of them are kind of hollowed out and destroyed by fire. Again, somebody forgets why that happened somewhere along the way, and suddenly now...
Right. It's demon fire.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It makes it more fun that way.
There you go.
Some of the, claims and all was the government really did it because they were hiding experiments and that there was an outbreak. And,
In Ohio?
Well,
yeah,
I mean...
where the hell else would you do it? I mean...
Yeah. Well, I mean, other than maybe Wyoming.
North Dakota?
So government cover-up, the entire town was used for satanic worship at some point in time.
The houses were arranged in the form of a pentagram.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, if you happen to, borrow somebody's helicopter and can actually view that from
Yeah.
up to, I've heard it's spectacular.
Yeah. So ornate.
Q is amazing.
Yeah.
And there is, of course, for those, and I use this term jokingly, fans of Blair Witch, spirits of murdered children are said to haunt the woods around Helltown.
Naturally.
I actually just found a website earlier that says Helltown is now closed, as I'm pretty sure it was never exactly open for business. Right. But it still exists. They're not going to give you directions to it. But if you find enough websites, it's in the park. You can just kind of find your way there.
Just go to the diner. Hey, do you know where
Just
Helltown
wondering
is?
where Helltown is.
Right.
Do you have a map to that place? 'Cause
Helltown. Nobody's asked about that in 25 years.
you get the one creepy guy with one eye. One...
Yeah. He comes over with a hook hand and he's like, looking for Helltown.
Oh my gosh.
So those are my two little local ones. Like I said, not as founded in that underlying meaning like the hook.
Right.
Right.
Just more, my guess would be drunken jackasses.
Yep. Probably. They didn't know what was going on behind the scenes. They just
Exactly.
knew that
So you
there
gotta
was a
make
town
something-
there and now there's not.
Right.
Exactly. That's what makes it fun.
That's exactly what makes it fun.
Hell yeah.
All right.
Well, Kylie,
Heck yeah.
you got a story for us.
I gotta tell you a story today. All right. So, Fairfax County, Virginia.
Okay.
One cold night. Doo-doo-doo. Matt, can you put scary music into this? Because this would be great.
There we go.
Anyway.
This is very theatrical right now.
Very theatrical. Robert Bennett and his fiancée start to get freaky in the backseat after their date.
Oh, no.
I know.
Well, we know they're screwed. I mean, they're just...
They're
Well,
fucked.
they're trying to.
They're trying to.
Yeah,
And,
definitely. After date night, when suddenly the front passenger window was smashed open. Dun-dun-dun. A figure had emerged from the by the nearby woods, bearing an axe. Also seen as a penis.
Oh, well, naturally, yeah. I mean, that's more phallic than a hook.
Right. He threatened and taunted the couple until they were finally scared enough to leave, at which he disappeared to the shadows. The only thing that Robert could remember was the fact the man was wearing a bunny costume.
To what? Fuck? What?
As one does.
All right.
Cool.
Just putting a picture of this in my head. So let's see. I want to go out and scare some kids tonight. Okay. Gotta wait for nighttime. Yep. That'll work. An axe. Yeah, an axe is scary. I like
People
an axe.
hate axes.
I like an axe. Okay, now I could wear this cloak and hood. No. That won't scare me.
That's cliche as fuck.
Ooh.
bring my
I
hook.
could go to old school and go to the hockey mouse. No. Fuck that. A fucking bunny. That's what I'll do.
Yeah.
What in the Donnie Darko was going on?
All right. And then the second sighting of that dude was in 1970 when a construction worker came across an unfinished home.
Okay.
And the bunny man was just fucking chilling on the porch.
Just what?
As one does. Just chilling on the porch.
Drinking a beer,
Drinking a beer.
axe resting by his feet.
Yeah. He was...
Was he leaning against a lamppost?
Well done.
Thank you.
And he has his axe, and he's swinging it, and he says, "All you people trespass around here. If you don't get out of here, I'm gonna bust you on the head." As one says.
It sounds like Bunny Foo-Foo. He's scooping up the field mice and bopping them
Whacking
on the head.
Oh my gosh. But both, of course, both of these are alleged experiences because they don't have any solid proof
Right.
that they had a bunny man there. And, people around the town were like, "Oh, we saw all these bunnies, skinned alive and, hanging across, the forest and all that stuff." And I'm like, cool.
No, you were attacked by Ralphie from A Christmas Story.
I'm telling you, officer, it was a pink nightmare.
Oh my god.
Although that, you have to admit, that gives a little bit of credence to the story because, honestly, if you were going to pull something out of your ass, would you go with a man dressed in a bunny suit? Is that your go-to?
Yeah, honestly.
No, it's so unbelievable that it has to be true.
It has to be true.
It has to be true.
Because no one would think that
No.
up.
So, allegedly, they opened up an investigation. In the coming weeks, the media had given him the new name, the Bunny Man of Clifton Bridge. And that's the bridge that he guards at night, apparently. And
Jesus.
each week came a new sighting, and it came to a grand total of about 50 alleged sightings within 3 months.
The troll? No. The axe man? No. The fucking bunny man.
It's
You're
the
gonna
bunny
go
man.
down in history. It's the bunny man.
I just don't have the words for this.
No.
It's amazing.
It's ridiculous is what it is.
It's spooky when you kind of look at the pictures.
Oh, well, no, for sure. If there was just,
spooky.
if I looked out the window and I saw a dude in a bunny costume swinging an axe, you better believe I'm going to piss my pants and run out my back door.
Right.
But, why? I'm trying to think of it from the bunny man's perspective. Is that the only costume he had? Did his mother make it for him?
Yeah,
and
he was
then,
gonna go with the, the classic, but he was just like, I want to shake it up a bit,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so the
He wanted
origin,
to scare people, but he wanted to be fabulous at the
Yeah.
same time.
Yes,
There you go.
pitch work. The Bunny Man's just his drag name.
Yeah.
So his origin, it comes in many different forms, as anyone can well imagine. One that he was born and raised by bunnies in the woods.
Oh,
That's
dear
true.
God.
Bunnies are naturally violent creatures, and they do have a tendency to wield axes. So,
That's true. It happens all the time.
yes.
Another claim that he came from an abandoned mental hospital in the woods of Fairfax County.
Sounds more likely, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Or that he escaped from a bus transporting prisoners while passing through the area.
And then, the first clothing he could find was a bunny costume hanging up on somebody's clothesline.
Basically. I personally think the reason that they made this was just so that they can get more people into town.
Oh, it was a marketing,
I
tourism
think it was a
scheme.
marketing thing. Well, you know how they have the thing with Mothman? where they're like, "Hey, come get the Mothman cookies." And
right.
like,
yeah.
But
I guess I've never heard of Fairfax, West Virginia, right?
Right.
Or is it Virginia or West
It's
Virginia? You said?
Fairfax County, Virginia.
Fairfax County,
That's
Virginia.
in Virginia.
This is the first time I'm hearing of it. So now I want to go there to see the Bunny Man.
So, but he does guard the Bunny Man Bridge in Clifton, Virginia, from any trespassers ready to skin them alive. So, as you imagine, a shit ton of teenagers decide to go there.
Right.
During Halloween.
As you do.
But it's been so popular in recent years, they've actually had to shut down the area during October. So that's a bit weird.
Well, they were tired of all the dead teenagers piling up along the river.
Yeah. I'm just still trying to envision a man in a bunny suit swinging an axe and...
I'm trying to imagine it not like an Easter bunny, and I can't. Like, I'm imagining those big, like, goofy cartoon eyes, and he's just like, ha, hi, kids. That's Mickey Mouse.
I honestly just imagine, like, an older, like, Ralph from Christmas Story.
Yeah.
That's what I imagine.
Jesus Christ.
So, the Bunny Man legend has inspired, a shit ton of media, just like the Hook Man.
Right.
He inspired films like Donnie Darko.
Okay.
And he also inspired an episode of Supernatural and an episode of Lore, which I've never heard of Lore in my life.
It's a podcast.
Oh.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, so...
Shout out to Lore.
What's up, Lore? And they made a Bunny Man film in 2011 that was absolutely terrible.
I would love to watch it.
I watched it the other day.
Horror
it was
films.
so bad.
I will hold Mutilation Man up against that thing any day of the week.
Hell yeah. But,
we'll do a double feature.
Exactly.
There you go.
But yeah, no, the Bunny Man's just a weird, freaky legend that's just there. I think it's honestly inspired by Goatman Bridge, which is another urban legend that's basically the same thing. But
it's just a guy with a goat costume.
No, it's not with the guy with goat costume. It's a half man, half goat.
Oh.
But he has a goat head instead of goat legs.
It's the anti-fawn or something.
Yeah.
Like, instead of the goat legs, it's man legs. And
yeah, it's really weird. But
I thought one of the origin stories, I'll be honest, I thought it was going to be that his mom, like, fucked a rabbit or something. And, like...
I was kind of waiting for something like that myself.
Like,
and
his mother was a human and his father was a giant bunny. And, like...
Oh my god!
Now he roams
his
the earth.
father was the bunny from the Holy Grail.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
The unholy union of man and bunny, and like that's what I kept imagining.
Yeah, I'm never going to get these images out of my head.
No.
Aren't you so glad you came on the podcast?
Oh yeah, this is fantastic.
Woo! All right. Well, that's all I got.
Shit. All right.
That, like I said, my brain is still trying to process.
Yeah.
You just took in way too much information right now.
That's a fucking crazy one.
Yeah. Definitely.
All right. Well, hey. Well, thank you guys for coming on the show today.
Yeah. Definitely.
And listeners, make sure that you are, tweeting at us your ideas for stories, themes. Yell at us. I don't care.
Keep your eyes open.
Right. You can tweet us and follow us on Instagram at antifictioncast. We've got a Facebook page. You can email us at antifictioncast@gmail.com. And new episodes Wednesdays. We'll see you then.